Hey, this is Chad with Drawn and Cornered. I am coming to you tonight from a closet, and that isn't even the craziest thing that happened. We went through the entire debate tonight. First debate of the presidential election for 2020 between Joe Biden and Trump. And if you watched our episode yesterday, we talked a little bit about what these two men had to do tonight to be considered winners or to come away on top out of this debate. Now, at the end, I'll tell you who I thought was the winner, but you'll probably pick it up as we go through here as well. So, both men came out. It was just as fiery as we expected. Chris Wallace did an outstanding job trying to maintain control here. I didn't know if it was going to be possible, and I don't know that he really did for the most part, but he did a great job trying, at least. It went back and forth between Biden talking to Trump about his COVID response and his economic plan and the recession that him and Obama had taken over, and how well they did versus how Trump did, and not taking care of it and having 10 million jobs lost and all that. Trump hit on everything else, from Joe not being capable, from being a stooge for the left, to a pawn for the entire Democratic Party, to not completely with it, to flip-flopping on issues. All of it was covered, and was covered constantly the entire time. Both men were talking over each other a ton, interrupting each other. It looked, frankly, to me, a lot like a high school debate or an argument, or how a debate would break down into an argument where you're not really getting a lot from it because nobody's offered the opportunity to really speak. Now, when I had talked yesterday about the things that needed to be done, for Joe Biden, he needed to get through the debate. He needed to get through the debate without any major gaffes or issues or losing his mind in there. Any of the things that we had seen out on the trail that could be perceived as a lack of mental competency. That didn't happen. He did a great job from the start to the finish. There were a couple of points where he took a moment, a pause. Nothing outside what I would imagine anybody pressed for an hour and a half would do. So he came away extraordinarily well there. Whatever his team did to prep him, great job. They took over that small bar, the low bar that had been set pretty handily. I don't think that will be a question from here on out, or perhaps even for the next debate. Trump had to knock him off of his footing. Trump had to get him to a point where he started to lose it a little bit, possibly show some of that anger that we've seen again out on the trail when pressed against questions, or really put up against a difficult spot. Trump tried. He brought out Hunter Biden. He brought out failures of the Obama-Biden presidency. He brought out issues with, why didn't you take care of this in the 47 years that you've already been out here? Why is all this new stuff? He brought out the not being able to corral his party as far as the left and the more moderate sides are concerned. He hit him with all of this, and constantly. There was really no point where Trump was sitting back and allowing Joe Biden just a free reign of the mic. There were a couple of moments where Chris Wallace really hammered in on Trump and told him to pay attention to the rules and the format that his team had already agreed to, and that was about it. I would give Trump maybe 5-10 minutes tops that he wasn't interjecting or becoming a part of Joe Biden's conversation. It was almost a constant barrage from Trump, and Joe Biden withstood that. For Trump, as far as policy points, a lot of it was about how good that things have been, how great the economy was before COVID, how good his response has been to COVID, how good his foreign policy has been, just in general, dealing with everything. When it came to climate, there was a little shaky moment in there, but it was essentially talking about how great of a job he's done. He's running on his record that he'd had from the previous years. He touched a little bit on some of the new reports that we're hearing about the Obama administrations and the Clintons campaign trying to upset or unseat Trump's new presidency, and where that is. And to the degree you believe what's coming out of the national intelligence groups or the FBI or all these different organizations, and the doublespeak and the massaging of the truth, I'm sure that we're getting from there will depend on how accurate you think those are. But again, Joe Biden took it all. He withstood it. If this was a the Apollo Creed Rocky fight, Joe Biden was Rocky walking into this, and all he had to do to survive was go the distance. All he had to do was make it all the way through this. And there was one moment where he broke out and told Trump just to shut up, which at that point I don't think anybody thought he was out of bounds for doing. He never lost it completely. He never really got angry or said something that I would say would be unrecoverable. He did a great job withstanding that. Now, in that analogy, Trump didn't come out like Apollo, though. He did not come out focused and powerful and strong in a singular direction towards Joe Biden. It seemed a lot of flailing, and answers would go from race to the economy to COVID responses to how much other people have liked it and positives that he's gotten from law enforcement. And it bounced all over so much that there was really no cohesive argument to push forward and no cohesive argument to argue against. So in that sense, I don't think Trump did a great job. And there were reports of him not prepping for this or not prepping enough or what he did for prep. I don't know exactly. This, I think, will go down as a loss for Trump. I have no doubt that both sides will spin this as a win. But anybody who watched this, I don't think you can come away saying that Trump won this, if for no other reason. If we don't come away with policy, if you don't come away with any sort of ideological spin, Trump did too much talking to have anything land. Nothing knocked Joe Biden backwards. Nothing knocked him off his game. Nothing did that. And maybe that's just a low expectation that was set. So Joe Biden surpassed that, whereas Trump never really got to that point. So however you're going to look at it, I think Joe Biden won this one. Joe Biden came away and at least seemed unscathed, even with the Hunter Biden stuff that was thrown at him, which should have made a bigger impact. Now, there was some discussion about how much Chris Wallace helped this out when Chris Wallace and Trump were sort of battling back and forth about climate change. And Trump's responses weren't really great, but it also ended up becoming a debate between those two rather than bringing Joe Biden into it. Or, again, if Trump was more focused and more recognizing of where these points should be made, could have stated his points and then tossed it to Joe Biden to show that difference. And instead he got into sort of a tete-a-tete upon with Chris Wallace, which I don't think is particularly helpful, especially for the Fox News round, which should be probably his most agreeable audience to begin with. From here, he goes on to, I want to say, ABC or CBS, which probably will not be as friendly to him as Chris Wallace may be, who is no friend of Trump, but I can't imagine it's going to get easier from here for him. So these next ones, it's going to have to be a lot more focused. It's going to have to be a lot more pointed specifically towards the topics that are being brought up. And he has to take a step back. One of the best things that is going for either one of these guys is to step into the shadows and let the other guy hang himself with the policy decisions and the choices that he's making, because that feeds to your base. Ultimately, this may be a question of running against whoever you want rather than for who you're for. I think people are afraid of Biden when it comes to some of the possible left leanings, some of the party ideologies that he's got, some of the things that he can't say about law enforcement or against Black Lives Matter or Antifa or some of the more radical lefties that come for the Green New Deal, as was hit many times tonight. On the opposite side, it is clear that there is a ton of hatred out there for Trump and not as much support for Biden. So if Biden can just step into the background and allow Trump free reign to say crazy things for an hour and a half, that's only going to benefit him and his campaign. So both of them need to understand that if you just stay quiet at your podium, you might actually be doing a lot more good than speaking up. Joe Biden hit that tonight and hit it at least reasonably well. I look forward to the next one. If you disagree with me, I'd definitely love to hear you at drawnandcornered@gmail.com. That's drawn, A-N-D, cornered at gmail. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below, and I would love to hear what you think about my assessment of tonight, what you thought of the debate. I know that everybody was really frustrated because there was really no cohesion anywhere in there. There was no format. Everybody was talking over each other. A lot of that came from Trump's side, but Joe Biden was doing a lot of interjecting himself, and it ended up just sounding like an argument between two children, and not a lot of benefit when it comes to policy and the understanding of what these two campaigns are really going to look like, or what these two administrations would look like going forward for the next 4 years. So hopefully that'll get fixed. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get to see a little bit more about how this rolls. I'm going to get this out to you. We will do more on Thursday and Friday about the SCOTUS nominee and some of the other subjects that are be coming up. So stay tuned.